Welcome back, gang. So recently I made a video called Nose Ring Theory, and you guys seemed to love that one. So I decided to keep it moving and keep exploring different theories and ideas made popular by greater social media, starting with first love theory. First love theory is an idea that originated from pop culture, K-pop dramas, psychobabble circles, and it mostly focuses on men. And the idea is that men, overwhelmingly more so than women, never forget or ever truly get over their first love. Here are some examples. This one reads, "Girls, if your man had a first love before you, run." I asked my dad today about men's first love theory, and he agreed, and that he always thinks about his first love. She was his childhood love. He thinks about her a lot and the memories. He thinks a lot about her, especially when he is single. I asked him if he would get back with her if he could, and he said if she has no drama in her life. This is another one that says, if your man already had his first love, then run. The theory is true. I asked my dad about his first love, and it turns out it was my stepmom. He was still chasing her and madly in love with her while being married with child and quote unquote in love with my mother. Then got divorced from my mom to marry her, and they are still married to this day. Oh, I'm assuming this is supposed to say my bio dad. Men's first love theory is true. My bio dad has my mom's old love letters on his wall, and my stepdad keeps pictures of his first high school girlfriend. So basically, there are a lot of men and women who agree that there is some merit to this theory. A lot of people who have talked about their dads and their stepdads who are like, yeah, I'm still totally in love with my first love. And it's not 100% male exclusive. I was able to find this one video lost in the sea of videos claiming that it's only men, where a woman does agree that it applies to her as well. I can confirm the first love theory is in fact real. Over 11 years later, and I'm starting to realize it might have always been the boy I fell for at 15. Hell, even Will Smith weighed in on this one.
So first love theory. You remember that first time you loved somebody and that kind of freedom and like the reckless abandon and the wide openness before life happens. How can we make our way back to that open space? Because with a closed heart, there's no way to create that love that we desire. There's like a Ram Dass quote, and he said, learning how to have an open heart in hell. There's a line that I have, I love that it's every heart will be broken, but what do we do with the pieces?
To be fair, maybe Will Smith is not the best example. I mean, if I was him, I would be reimagining life with a lot of different exes, I'm sure.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm just saying, if my wife cheated on me with one of my son's best friends, I'd probably consider some alternate timelines too. So you get it. First love theory suggests that men never really get over their first love. But why does this apply more to men and not to women? So women actually have their own theory, and it's called getting Chad widowed or getting alpha widowed. I'm personally Chad widowed to my husband, I'm not even gonna lie. Unlike first love theory that ties men back to the first woman they ever fell in love with, the alpha widow or Chad widow theory suggests that a woman will never get over the first Chad they've ever been with, or for non-internet brained people, the most high status, desirable man they've ever been with. It's when a woman dates someone who is so handsome, so built, so charismatic, so wealthy, that after it falls apart, she struggles to find anyone who will compare to her Chad. The reason they call her a widow is obviously not because she lost her partner to death, but because she lost access to the man that she so greatly idealized. The term is often criticized as a reductive oversimplification of women, but just like first love theory does have roots roots in certain psychological phenomenons like romantic imprinting in men, the alpha widow theory does hold roots in certain psychological phenomenons such as hypergamy, or the tendency to date up in status. And just like first love theory doesn't 100% only apply to men, it can apply to women, there is a version of alpha widow theory for men, and it's called being Stacy widowed. The more you know. So these theories are similar but different. And I think the common theme that they both share is they both involve a hyperfixation on the one that got away. When it comes to these theories, I'm not sure that it's true that they are always and forever going to be in love with these people, so much as just that they'll never forget them. And I don't necessarily know if that alone is always a bad thing. This was probably just the first time that they've ever projected an entire future with someone onto someone, and a memory like that can be very vivid. I think for a lot of people, especially guys, when it comes to first love theory, is that they just wonder if things could have been different with that person if they knew then what they know now. Because for a lot of these guys, it was the first time they ever made mistakes in a relationship. It was their first breakup. It's kind of like how we never really forget the first time we ever accidentally added salt to a cake instead of sugar. You know what I mean? Like, we know that cake is long gone, but we still wonder what could have been if we would have just added the right ingredient. And by the way, this isn't me implying that men are the root cause of all breakups and women never do anything wrong. I'm sure that that is not the case for a lot of situations, but let's not pretend that we were all perfect in our first relationships. I don't think first love theory is even about the person themselves, but the intensity and the newness of that experience that ends up leaving an emotional blueprint on a man. I think it makes sense for these men to refer back to this emotional blueprint to either recreate or avoid that past experience. From a psychological perspective, first love typically occurs during adolescence or early adulthood, when the brain is still developing emotional regulation. So that would naturally make those memories a lot more intense and long-lasting. There's also a lot to be said for the chemical novelty in linking a specific person to dopamine, oxytocin, and adrenaline for the first time. And similar to what Will Smith touched upon, I think that when men really think about their first love, it's not the person they miss. It's themselves who they miss. Being young, carefree, idealistic, emotionally wide open. And similarly, going back to Chad Widow theory, I think for most of these women, it's not about the deep emotional connection they felt. I think it's about chasing the standard that this man set. I mean, if you get a job making well over $30 an hour, it's going to be really hard to go back to making $10 an hour. You know what I mean? Just like first love theory is really more of a symbol of emotional vulnerability and innocence, I think Chad Widow theory is more of a symbol of peak desirability and status. In both of these cases, I think the reason that these people become so emotionally stuck on a certain person is because that experience feels so rare and unrepeatable. And in both of these situations, without proper self-awareness, it can lead to emotional unavailability, idealization, and even dissatisfaction with future partners. But again, like most theories, these are not one-size-fits-all blanket truths of the world. They are simply trends and patterns that people noticed that might be worth looking into. So how does one get over their first love or being Chad widowed? Or better yet, how do we recognize this in a potential partner? Well, if one of these does apply to you, if you still feel tied to your first love or to a former Chad, it's important to acknowledge that what you're feeling is real and valid, but not final. It's not wrong or weak to still think about the person who you first loved or who made you feel the most high value, but it becomes a problem when you let it define every moment thereafter, or every relationship thereafter. You also need to reframe any kind of idea you may have that they are the one who got away, because after all, almost 10 times out of 10, the reality is that's just a projection of a fantasy that you made up in your head. Were they really the one, or were they just the one who showed up before you knew any better? It's really easy to idolize people we no longer have access to, because in our minds, we can turn them into whoever we want them to be. And recognizing that we all do this can help ground us in reality. But that's just us. How can we recognize when someone else hasn't done the work and might be stuck in one of these theories? Whether they're still stuck on their first love or chasing the ghost of Chad's past, these are some typical warning signs. 1. Do they tend to compare you to a partner from the past? 2. Do they make you feel like you don't measure up? 3. Does it feel like they're avoiding commitment because it doesn't feel the same? And 4, does it feel like they're constantly chasing highs or external validation? If so, they may just be the victim of first love or Chad widow theory. And no, you can't save them, but you can learn from them. Like I said, the reality is that these are theories, not unbreakable truths. Your man having loved someone before you came along doesn't make him incapable of loving you, if not loving you 10 times more than he ever loved her. Your girl having dated a guy in the past who on paper resembles an absolute giga Chad doesn't make her incapable of seeing your value or viewing you as a downgrade. What matters is how you show up for your partner now. And if you think about it, that puts you in a better position than any of those other people are in. You can provide that consistency, that presence, that real connection that they no longer have access to. You can also play the new Oblivion Remastered with them, which none of those other losers can do.
By Azura, by Azura, by Azura! It's the grand champion!
Anyway, that's been my coverage of both First Love Theory and Chad Widow Theory. If you liked it, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning the notification bell on so that you know when I'm going live. And if you want more Dadvocate content than you can find here, consider becoming a member of this channel or a patron at patreon.com/thedadvocate for early access to videos, exclusive content, and additional perks that no one else gets. If there is another topic or theory that you want me to cover, keep content submissions coming to lauren@dadvocate.net. But alright, that's about it for this time. I will see you guys in the next one. Until soon.